body tightening, catching glances like bottled lightning. I needed some way to show them how much I wanted to get to know them. Didn't feel up to the task. There was no one else to ask to the junior prom. How could anything go wrong at the junior prom? We can dance to every song at the junior prom. They said, I guess I'll be your date to the junior prom. Gonna pick them up around 8. Though their interest was moot, I went out and got myself a suit. Rehearsed the photo.
Jackson, stop.
I think I'll get some matching roses.
Don't want to see it another time.
I understand why it didn't go as planned at the junior prom. How did everything go wrong at the junior prom? Didn't dance to any song at the junior prom. Where romance is what you lack at the junior prom. You get a broken heart or your money back. You won't get your money back. Junior prom. Love the way you did your hair, but I'll save it for someone who cares at the senior prom. How could anything go wrong at the senior prom? Gonna dance to every song at the senior prom. Yes, of course I'll be your date to the senior prom. You can pick me up around 8. 5'9", looking so fine. 5'9", hoping that you'd be mine. 5'9", that's a good sign. 5'9", a very good sign. If you're 6'4", that's a bit more. 6'4", as beautiful as the shore. 6'4", hard to ignore. 6'4", don't let her ignore me. 6'3", absolutely. 6'3", that's what I like to see. 6'3", set me free. 6'3", yes, I wanna be with you. Oh, I wanna be with you. Oh, I wanna be with them all. I just wanna be close to be close to a girl who's 5'10", heavenly sent. 5'10", I got us among women. 5'10", here we go again. 5'10", let's
Jackson,
do it again, hon.
6'1",
never outdone.
Do not play with the water, baby. You're gonna make a mess.
6'1", kissing's more fun. 6'1",
that's why mommy don't want you playing it.
6'0", star of the show. 6'0", the prettiest girl I know.
Open
6'0", carry me home. 6'0", please carry me home with you.
I see you,
I'm
baby
feeling at home
doll.
with you.
You see me,
Wanna go home with
doll.
them all.
And I don't know
Wanna
what
go home with you.
know what
To
I'm
go home with a girl who's, you know, I wanna be with you.
you know.
You can measure up to them all. It's not what I see in you, but I do love a girl who's tall.
I do have a girl who's song.
A girl who's tall. If you've ever seen a tourist trap, you'll identify this tourist trap. From the outside it looks like crap, but there's magic.
There's
in it. Now it's been
magic.
a long, long time.
Mommy, I need more.
More what?
Take a trip
More
with
what?
me and you'll find we'll be
No more.
mystery.
You've had enough.
Take me back to the place I know with the mystery.
Yeah.
In the forest gnomes, I'm already packed, so come on,
'Cause
let's
lunch is
go.
coming.
Don't get me started. My heart's in gravity. If
What?
you dare try that
These are the ones. Mac and cheeses and what?
Yeah, we're gonna have mac
Is
and
that
My
cheeses.
heart's in gravity.
Is it on the couch?
Huh?
Is it on the couch?
There'll be evenings if you stay just a little longer.
It's on the couch.
But until then,
I I sit on the couch and I say, Mommy say, Mommy say, Jackson, you say, Everybody say,
You draw Jackson, Mom.
You want me to draw Jackson? I can draw Jackson.
I want to draw a crayon.
I don't have any crayons. You guys lost the crayon.
Found this?
Here, give that to me. That's Mommy's. You can't have that one. Oh, that one? Here, take that one.
What's wrong with it?
Yep, get a piece of paper.
So come on, let's go. Don't get me started. My heart's in Gravity Falls.
Whoa, 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 yeah.
Sun inside of me is peeking out from the clouds. I'm who I wanna be, so I'll sing this
There we go.
out loud. I am
Time to draw Jack.
parts of all
Time to
the
draw
friendly hearts
Found it. Bottle.
with you.
Put on Mommy's steps.
The bottle fell down.
Not right now.
Yes, inside.
Whoa. Yeah, Jackson said,
What's my teeth? My teeth has short wine. Can I teeth? Like this. My teeth would be Jackson's teeth.
yes, your teeth.
My teeth are white. I like your teeth.
Huh?
Mommy, what your teeth? It's white.
Yeah.
I don't see. We come out there, Mom.
Don't be a ghoster, ride the roller coaster of emotions that I've been on. Nothing feels
Look over there.
It has those flash hits before I leave this city.
Don't go back there.
Mom, that's a big It's hard to
through this time. I don't wanna be the one without a reason for my time. Why can't Plato philosophize about anything but
coffee cup. Coffee cup.
I don't think
Coffee
anyone
cup.
will hear my cries, justify my ends.
Hello.
I'm the only.
One take your ear, Mom.
Now nothing
Take your ear.
Okay.
Take your ear.
Hold on. Check my ear.
hold me tight before the
That's good.
Is it good? Okay.
West. This is on my finger. This on my finger.
What's inside? Don't stick your finger inside.
Why did you have to
Don't come back, you. Now what you say?
They're too big. Not bigger. Don't like. Choo choo.
Put it back. Now let me get it. Now stand up.
all alone in the
Choo.
universe?
Choo choo.
I guess it couldn't be much worse than us. I just can't believe it. I swear I still can hear
Grandma.
the reasoning hack. General Grievous, I'm genuinely grieving you. Nothing's ever gonna bring you back. It probably made you cry, not be a man, but to not quite be a guy. General Grievous, what a monster she was. He didn't care about what you
Stop,
had to
Jax.
say.
Stop. Don't do that to Xander. No, don't bluff. Xander don't like it.
How come you had to leave
Yeah, just not loud.
us while 𝗆𝗢 gets to live another day? General Grievous, oh General Grievous, General Grievous.
I'm coming.
Why did you have to
I'm on my way.
to remind me of the fact that nothing's ever gonna bring you?
Order delivered. Order delivered. Order delivered.
Leave it at
Order
first.
delivered.
Some kind of alien twist of fate. To think that anything I felt would ever be reciprocated. But down below I feared the worst. I tried to hide the truth I knew. I'd forgotten what they say. When something's too good to be true. Now my hand will never be placed gently into yours. My head will never rest upon your chest beneath the stars. My eyes will never see your magic anymore. I was so close to the best, but so far. It was almost my first everything, brand new as far as I could tell. But I was the Icarus of romance, and when I melted down I fell. And now my hand will never be placed gently into yours. My head will never rest upon your chest beneath the stars. My eyes will never see your magic anymore. I was so close to the best, but so far. And now I've got to burn it all. Throw out every spoiled flirtation. My first mistake, as I recall, was raising up my expectation. My hand will never be placed gently into yours. My head will never rest on your chest beneath the stars. My eyes will never see your magic anymore. I was so close to the best, but so far. No cigar. I'd really like to be a princess. There's no subtextuality to this. I'm just honestly so down for getting on a kiss again and needing someone who'll awake me with a kiss. I'd really like to be a princess, 'cause love is where princesses tend to fall. Could do without the 3-inch heels, just wanna feel how a princess feels when someone asks you to go dancing at the ball. I'd really like to be a princess, or one day find I'm feeling princess-esque. If I can't be Sleeping Beauty, then I'll try to be a cutie in the ways I have control over, I guess. Think I've fallen ill It's rearranging how I feel. Must be something going round. Seems like I'm never getting off the ground. Everybody else's lives look great. They've got success, they've got a date. Couldn't tell what was wrong with mine, until I realized it's all in my mind. The sickness can't infect me, 'cause I know what won't affect me. This much is true. I'm someone no one else can be. So you can keep on doing you, and I'll do me. Take inventory next. Filter your world from the rest. Try not to get consumed by someone else's happiness. It won't pertain to you. Prevent your heart's erosion. Take stock of your emotions. This much is true. I'm someone no one else can be. So you can keep on doing you, and I'll do me. And one day you'll see what I've done, and how I'm exactly who I wanted to become. This much is true. You're someone no one else can be. So you can keep on feeling, and please do keep on healing. And I'll do me. On your ouch. What I was looking for.
Alrighty. The love dashboard.
Those years you spent in war.
And that's actually the
la da 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 da. How can anyone get bored of your scabbard and your sword? Yeah, you're the one I chose. So break me into pieces, dear Rose. You're the kind that
I didn't get me some. Hey Jackson, come here for a second. I need your help. Did you get mommy a soda out of this bag? Come in here in the playroom.
Perfect as you are.
You see the sodas? Okay, found it. Whew. Bring mommy, don't shake it. Sit it right here. Thank you, sweetheart. Okay, you go eat. Alright. So here's what we're going.
I can feel my body tightening, catching glances like bottled lightning. I needed some way to show them how much I wanted to get to know them. Didn't feel up to the task. There was no one else to ask to the junior prom. How could anything go wrong at the junior prom? We danced to every song at the junior prom. They said, I guess I'll be your date to the junior prom. I'm gonna pick them up around 8. Though their interest was moot, I went out and got myself a suit. rehearse the photo poses. I think I'll get some matching roses. Now at last I understand why it didn't go as planned at the junior prom. How did everything go wrong at the junior prom? Didn't dance to any song at the junior prom. Where romance is what you lack at the junior prom. You get a broken heart or your money back, and you won't get your money back. Love the way you did your hair, but I'll save it for someone who cares at the senior prom. How could anything go wrong at the senior prom? Gonna dance to every song at the senior prom. Yes, of course I'll be your date to the senior prom. You can pick me up around 8. 5'9", looking so fine. 5'9", hoping that you'd be mine. 5'9", that's a good sign. 5'9", a very good sign. If you're 6'4", that's a bit more. 6'4", as beautiful as the shore. 6'4", hard to ignore. 6'4", don't let her ignore me. 6'3", absolutely. 6'3", that's what I like to see. 6'3", set me free. 6'3", yes, I wanna be with you. Oh, I wanna be with you. Oh, I wanna be with them all. I just wanna be close to be close to a girl who's 5'10", heavenly sent. 5'10", a goddess among women. 5'10", here we go again. 5'10", let's do it again, hon. 6'1", never outdone. 6'1", reach up and touch the sun. 6'1", kissing's more fun. 6'1", when you're standing on tiptoes. 6'0", star of the show. 6'0", prettiest girl I know. 6'0", carry me home. 6'0", please carry me home with you. I'm feeling at home with you. I wanna go home with them all. I wanna go home with you. To go home with a girl who's, you know, I wanna be with you. You can measure up to them all. It's not all that I see in you, but I do love a girl who's tall. A girl who's tall. If you've ever seen a Northwest map, you'll identify this tourist trap. From the outside it looks like crap, but there's magic in it. And now it's been a long, long time since the summer amongst the pines. Take a trip with me and you'll find we'll be mystery twinning. Take me back to the place I know, with the mystery shack and the forest gnomes. I'm already packed, so come on, let's go. Don't get me started, my heart's in gravity. If you dare try that Oregon town where the weird and rare always hang around. And while you're there, check the lost and found for my body part, 'cause my heart's in gravity falls. Skeletons made out of clay, you don't see that every day. There'll be even more if you stay just a little longer. It's probably a lot to take, and I know you might think it's fake, but I'm telling you, in the lake there's a gobblewonker. Take me back to the place I know, with the mystery shack and the haunting ghosts. I'm already packed, so come on, let's go. Don't get me started, my heart's in gravity. If you dare try that Oregon town where the weird and rare always hang around. And while you're there, check the lost and found for my body part, 'cause my heart's in gravity Never could enchant us the way that grunk'll stand us. If we're lucky and we're able, we could find Dipper and Mabel. Take me back to the place I know, with the mystery shack and the forest gnomes. I'm already packed, so come on, let's go. Don't get me started, my heart's in gravity falls. The sun inside of me is peeking out from the clouds. I'm who I wanna be, so I'll sing this moment out loud. I am alive in parts of all the friendly hearts. What a lovely day I spent with you, the lovely person that you've turned into. Thinking of the lovely things that we're gonna do when we do this again. I'll never go away, I'll be right here to say what a lovely day I spent with you, the lovely person that you've turned into. Thinking of the lovely things that we're gonna do when we do this again.
I'm gonna do it.
What a lovely day I spent with you,
What a
the
lovely
lovely
day.
people that we've turned into. Thinking of the lovely things that we're gonna do when we do this again. When we do this again. When we do this again. I'm the only sinner without a prayer. I've been lonely, I've been feeling lonely since I saw them all standing. 𝗫𝗎𝗄𝗡, Cinderella, before midnight strikes and she's gone. Don't be a ghoster, ride the roller coaster of emotions that I've been on. Now nothing feels right, has the whiplash hits tonight. Before I leave this darling city, someone say I'm pretty, somebody hold me tight. Before the whiplash hits again tonight. I don't even want to talk about what I've been through this time. I don't want to be the one without a reason for my rhyme. Why can't Plato philosophize about anything but friends? I don't think anyone will hear my cries or justify my ends. I'm the only sinner without a prayer. Now nothing feels right as the whiplash hits tonight. Before I leave the dull city, someone say I'm pretty and somebody hold me tight. Before the whiplash hits again tonight. General Grievous, why did you have to leave us? Your sabers couldn't keep Kenobi down. General Grievous, I'm genuinely grieving you. My smile's now a big bereaving frown. All alone in the universe, I guess it couldn't be much worse. General Grievous, I just can't believe this. I swear I still
Hey, what's wrong?
amazing hat. General Grievous, I'm genuinely grieving you, but nothing's ever gonna bring you back. It probably made you quite annoyed to not be a man, but to not quite be a droid. General Grievous, monster she was. He didn't care.
I don't have any more apple.
General Grievous.
Hello.
How come you had to leave us?
Hello.
Body full of poop right there.
Yeah, he laid a big one.
Another day. General Grievous. Oh, General Grievous. General Grievous. General Grievous. Why did you have to leave us? I'm playing out this track to remind me of the fact that nothing's ever
Thank you.
gonna bring
Hope your birthday has been spectacular. And it sucks that it's over now.
It is over? Why is it over?
Some kind of
Only get like a couple.
Wow.
Made the best of it.
That anything I felt
What are you doing?
Hey, Dan, coming to get the babe. About to get on the phone.
Word.
but down below I feared the worst. I tried to hide the truth I knew. I'd forgotten what they say. When something's too good to be true.
I love you, darling.
Love you too.
'Cause now my hand will never be placed gently into yours. My head will never rest on your chest beneath the stars. My eyes will never see your magic anymore. I was so close to the best, but so far. It was almost my first everything. Knew as far as I could tell. But I was the illness of romance. When I melted down, I fell. And now my hand will never be placed gently into yours. My head will never rest upon your chest beneath the stars. My eyes will never see your magic anymore. I was so close to the best, but so far. And now I've got to burn it all. Throw out every spoiled flirtation. My first mistake, as I recall, was raising up my expectation. My hand will never be placed gently into yours.
Hey.
How you doing, bitch?
Good.
How are you celebrating National Horny Day?
What?
Today's National Horny Day.
That's every day. What are they talking about?
I think it's because of the quarantine.
Yeah, they're trying to acknowledge the fact that, hey, we know everybody's probably going a little crazy. Okay. Solidarity.
It's a thing. They said, like, since we're social creatures, isolation makes us, like, crave companionship.
Really? I didn't know that was an actual, like, thing.
22 million Americans are now on unemployment.
Yeah, I saw the headline. It was like another X amount.
It's like another, I think it was another 5 million.
That's crazy. And then there's gonna be so many that can't work. And ooh, our economy.
Think I'll fall in it.
Our economy's going down.
Ryan was talking about the zombie economy and stuff.
How, like, not everyone will get to go back.
Yeah.
Must be something going round. Seems like I'm never getting off the ground.
Luckily, I get to go back to work Monday.
Everybody else is
My schedule tomorrow is 2 people. It's my boss and
They've
I.
got success, they've got a date.
That's gonna be weird. To be so empty and like everything, wouldn't it?
Until I realized it's
I
all
mean, she's a
in
cool
my
bitch. Her
mind.
name's Tatiana.
The sickness can't infect me. 'Cause
Tatiana.
I know what
Well, no, she goes by Tat, but
What?
she hates it when you call her Tatiana.
Tappa?
this much
Tat.
is true.
Oh, I was like Tappa. Okay.
I'm someone no one else
What you doing, bitch?
Wrong. Let my boy
so
eat.
you can keep on
I tried to play Smite earlier, but
dreaming.
I could not focus because I'm out of my medicine.
And I'll do me.
So like
Take
my focus is shit.
inventory next.
This guy was getting all angry at me.
Filter
I was and we won too. I was Bacchus. And I was with Bob and I kept going in and it was like
Try not to get consumed.
5 minutes in and it was 1-3. I was running 1-3 and he was all pissed and I was like, he was like, just report this Bacchus. I was like, for what? For initiating? I was like, just report this Loki for being AFK. Always in the back. 4v5. And we won too. He started going in.
And I'll do me. And one day you'll see what I've done. And how I'm exactly who I wanted to become. This much is true. You're someone no one else can be.
When they go down, I might try to play again if you want to play them.
You can keep on
Yeah, I'm getting on now. I'll do a few
Please
games
do keep on healing.
by myself first.
And I'll do me.
Animal Crossing? Guess what, Vonda?
What?
It's 280,000 copies away
From
from being the best-selling game in Japan ever.
Ever? Like, wow. It's gonna be a, like,
I didn't know that the last one came out 8 years ago. So it's been
for
a while.
GameCube?
It was 3DS.
Oh, I was gonna say, that doesn't sound right.
Or not 3DS, I think it was just the DS at the time.
Of your scabbard and your
Yeah, it came out in 2012.
Yeah, you're the one I chose.
I see you.
Break me into pieces.
Hmm.
You're the kind that heaven sent.
YouTube. Why you do this? I'm gonna stop. Stop
What?
streaming.
3DS.